Testing Audacity. Testing.
Everyone heard that. Okay.
Testing. All right.
You ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 210 of the Security Podcast on the In30 Network. My name is Haim Cohen. Tom is somewhere over there.
I'm here. Somewhere in this direction.
And if you're watching the YouTube, I just want to say the last 2 weeks, Tom's been like crystal clear. Like 6K XDR $1,000 stand clear.
I would like to thank my 4-year-old Logitech HD 1080p webcam with the Carl Zeiss lens.
I mean, I
think it was like a whole $30.
I thought you were going to thank CenturyLink.
I would like to thank the Comcast Mafia for not breaking my knees this week and for providing me adequate bandwidth for the first time in my life. Thank you, Comcast.
So again, we do recommend that you listen to the show, but again, we're always on YouTube until they stop, because they have stopped doing Hangouts on air, and I have to push the button. It's like, why do you want to continue? And I'm like, because you don't have Hangouts on air. And they're like, but why? And I go, because you don't have Hangouts on air. So we're going to have to find some weird thing. We did try it out, but it's going to be some growing pains moving to Twitch at some point and everything else to get video working. But anyway, we're here. We're ready to go 2 weeks in a row. So we have like a new record right now going. So the first thing in our main story is Chrome. Chrome a few months ago decided to like just float out the idea of blocking extensions, which would break AdBlock and uBlock Origin and everything else. And people got all huffy, which, I mean, I don't blame them for, because uBlock Origin is not just to block ads, it's to block also the malicious scripts and everything else. They walked back on it. And today, they're like, yeah, we're walking back, but not so far.
Yeah, so Chrome isn't going to necessarily block all extensions. What they're really looking at is kind of trying to curtail what those extensions can do. Right now, extensions in browsers have a ton of power. If you have a malicious extension, it can watch and do really anything it wants to do. If you give it access to read data for all sites, which, let's say you have an ad blocker. Well, to block those ads, it needs to be able to watch and intercept all of the data you come in contact with on any given website. So it's going to have access to quite literally everything. The issue with that is if it's malicious, something like HTTPS wouldn't protect you at all, right? Because it's running as you in your browser. It has full access to everything you have. So Google kind of wants to seal that off a little bit for security purposes, but unfortunately, this will break things like uBlock Origin. It will break ad blocking. They have proposed certain it's even hard to call them workarounds or alternatives, because they really don't have even nearly the same amount of power that extensions have access to today. But it's simply not good enough. And things like uBlock Origin, will just cease to function once this goes into place.
So you're talking about the powerfulness of it. Remember, Chrome has an extension for remote desktop. You can literally remote desktop using a Chromebook through extensions. You can open up Shell with an extension. So there are some pretty powerful things there. And that's to say that makes Chromebooks a lot more useful, but it also allows people, like you said, to do malicious extensions, and they're trying to stop that. And unfortunately, then come the conspiracy theorists, because remember, Google is a media company. They make money off selling you ads and having the number one browser on the market. I'm sure at some level they're saying, if everyone blocks ads, how are we going to make money? I don't think that's their motivating driving force, but it's hard to see otherwise.
Yeah, so in one of Google's financial filings, they did come out and say that, yes, ad blocking is a concern for us. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do anything malicious, right? It doesn't mean that this is driven out of some hatred of ad blockers or defense of their business, but it's certainly possible. As a regulatory requirement, Google is, basically mandated to come out and say, what are the risks to our business? What are the risks to our revenue streams? And ad blockers do pose a significant risk, especially as they become more popular. So Raymond Hill of uBlock Origin, he was the creator of uBlock Origin, said, look, Google's ad business and Chrome's ability to block ads are in direct conflict with each other, right? Like Google, for the sheer fact of allowing ad blockers on the web store at all, is kind of a miracle in and of itself. So it's not really surprising that they would take this stance. I personally don't think this is coming from any place of malicious intent, but it's certainly hard to see otherwise. The good news is we do have alternatives, right? So Google will probably go forward with this. Their current plan is to implement these API changes, but allow enterprises paid access. So you can, as an enterprise, pay for additional Chrome features to be able to do things like full ad blocking or network control or other things that businesses want to do with corporate internal extensions that they develop. Good news is, for everyone else out there, there is a free and open source browser that we all have access to. It's really fast now, it's wonderful, and it's been around forever. It is our dear pal, Firefox. Now, I converted back to Firefox probably about 2 years ago, and I gotta say, I don't miss Chrome at all. I do use Chrome for this show because Hangouts, the video calling, only works on Chrome for no apparent reason, but it does. But other than that, Firefox is my main browser. I use it for everything.
So you told me, I don't know, a few months ago to try out Firefox again. And there was some growing pains there, but for the most part, it was fine. My problem was on lower end memory systems or slow processing systems, Firefox would suck up all the memory, which was the reason why you moved to Chrome in the first place. And it wouldn't release it. So as long as I close out once a day, at least it works. But that's not the end of the world. To close out and then just restore all tabs is not like this horrific thing. It's not something I want to do, but for those privacy saving features or to run AdBlock, that's what I do. Now, again, like you said, the Google properties, Gmail and Docs and Hangouts are always better using Chrome, but that's what you have to deal with.
Yeah. Now, the nice thing about Firefox is it does support synchronization. It supports basically all the same extensions that you've grown to love on Chrome, and even some stuff exists in Firefox that doesn't exist on Chrome, like tree style tabs, which, by the way, is the best thing ever. I didn't think I'd like tree style tabs, but I've fallen for it. One of my coworkers was using it, and I can't go back now. It's amazing. But you can also load Firefox onto your mobile phone. If you have Android or iOS, you can load it onto those platforms. It works just great. It synchronizes all your bookmarks. Frankly, it's wonderful. On Android especially, it's fantastic because you can load desktop extensions onto the Android version of Chrome. When I had my Pixel, I had Firefox on my phone as the default browser with uBlock Origin. It was just a miracle. It blocked all the ads. It was fantastic. So if you haven't tried Firefox in a while, load it up, give it a shot. It's free. It'll even import everything from Chrome if you want to do that. Frankly, if you don't have like a lot of bookmarks and stuff you want to import, just launch Firefox with a clean slate, start over, get the spring cleaning out of the way, and give it a fair shot.
I think the big thing that's motivating me to stick with Firefox is, like you said, on mobile, on Android, you have, I think I run one extension. I run two extensions, LastPass and uBlock Origin, and both of those run natively. They work, and they work well. And Firefox doesn't have any weird slowdowns on the Android phone. So for me, it's like a win-win. So I do that, and I say I should really stick with this. They have two-factor on your synchronization of data, which I find like overkill, but that's great too. So I deal with it, and the syncing, the everything else, it just works. So I am liking it. Like I said, it does take up memory, and I'm hoping the new updates they're clearly working on this to release the memory.
Yeah. And additionally, Mozilla is doing some really cool stuff with Firefox by default to protect all users. So Firefox, with their latest update, will now block web trackers by default. So that includes like analytics companies, it includes stuff that is watching you, that includes Google Analytics, that includes a bunch of different advertisers that track you. It's just getting loaded in and turned on by default. You don't have to muck around with any settings. It's one day your Firefox is safer. Now, this has always been an optional thing that you could turn on basically the past 6 months of Firefox, or probably longer than that. You could turn on tracking protection, in standard or strict mode. But, starting with this latest update, everything is going to strict mode or everything is going to standard tracking blocking automatically, which is just fantastic. By switching your friends and family over to Firefox, you're making them, a little bit more private, a little bit more secure by default.
I mean, look, in either way, either Chrome, because Chrome does have a lot of security features. They are constantly updating that. The problem is that we have you and I, and the security community rather these malicious things be stopped. But to tell somebody to just download Chrome and be done with it, I'm okay with that. Like, you know what? Just download Chrome, run it natively. I know that it's going to be updated. It's going to be fine. If you want to get them with Firefox, you're just going to have to explain to them that Firefox was the thing that took down IE back in the day, and then Chrome came, and now Firefox is back. So there are those two things. But
in how we've always talked on this show about the importance of automatic updates and making sure, especially, the things you access the internet with, right? Your browser needs to be the most secure, up-to-date thing that you can have on your computer. Firefox today updates just like Chrome. Pulls down stuff in the background, updates itself. Occasionally it'll say, hey, could you restart? Because I've got this update here and it's been cooking for a while. I'll reopen your tabs. Just trust me on this. So you don't have to worry about manual updates or walking people through stuff. You can even change the UI if you really want to trick people into thinking it's Chrome. You can move stuff around in the UI and customize it to get rid of all the extra fluff and just make it look as simple as possible.
So I asked Tom earlier today. So if you didn't know, Microsoft Edge is replacing all the Internet Explorers. If you have Windows 10, it should be Edge only, no more IE. And they're using the Chromium engine. So is that a recommendation for Windows 10 people? Like, you can also use Edge because it is Chromium built in, but I don't Chromium and Chrome, even though they're based on the same code, I don't think it has those weird API rules.
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think because the Edge project is just using the Blink rendering engine. And again, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, jump into our WhatsApp group, correct me, send us a tweet, whatever. We'll correct on the show next week. But I believe since it's just using the rendering engine, that the actual core browser API would be unaffected by any changes Chrome makes, in that you could block ads in IE as long as Microsoft allows the extensions to do that. I don't want to say that Edge is a poor choice. I honestly don't have a lot of experience with it. It's certainly safer than IE was back in the day. Much, much, much safer. But is it really a viable choice today? I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, our school moved from Chrome. We get Chromebooks, and next year we're supposed to be using Lenovo, whatever foldable things with Windows 10, and the pen works like. We get a pen, and the Surface Pen works with Edge and everything else. So they're really trying to push us to Office 365 with Edge and pen support and everything else. And it hurts me because I grew up on IE6 and the dumpster fire that was. So I can't, like you said, I can't say that Edge is good. I do want to ask about Safari, but I don't know if we know the answer to that.
So Safari isn't a bad browser. What Safari has over all of the other competitors, and I mean all of them, is that if you're on a Mac and you use Safari, you're going to be getting the very best power management and power savings you could possibly get. Firefox and Chrome just suck the battery down on a Mac. They are awful for energy. Safari is relatively light on energy consumption. It's relatively light on CPU. It's a super lightweight, super... I don't want to say lacking in features, but it is kind of lacking in features. It is a more simple browser. It is potentially powerful. You can add things to it. Edge is not a bad choice, but it's kind of a laggard when it comes to the newest web standards. So if you're looking at doing stuff like loading up WebAssembly video games in your Safari browser, you're probably not going to be getting the very best performance that you could be on that machine.
It's one of those, I like to have no names in on my bookmarks bar because I know what the fave icons are. Safari does not have fave icons. So that was a deal breaker for me. Like I had to have that. And you're like, oh, just put the first couple letters and you'll figure it out. No, I just wanted the icons. It wouldn't let me have that. But I was on OS 10 all day. So I legitimately could go from one computer to the next, have it all sync and be done with it. Mac upstairs, Mac downstairs, iPad, all that stuff I had. So I'm still thinking about it as an option, but Firefox runs on all of them and I'm used to it. I know it. And I said, you know what? Let's stick with that. So
I really, really do like Firefox a lot. And I think it's important that we don't let Firefox. I totally hit my mute button. It's important that we don't let Firefox fall by the wayside. It's important that we don't have another 90% browser market share moment like we did in the IE 6 days. Because, before Firefox was a massive powerhouse, before it, stole a bunch of market share from Internet Explorer, we had stuff that only worked with Internet Explorer. Microsoft basically wrote the web standards. They were exactly where Google is today. And Microsoft started making really, really nasty missteps that landed them and the internet at large in a world of hurt, right? Like ActiveX was a browser technology that they pushed and tried to get people to use and implement, and it was a security nightmare. Now, Google is a little bit smarter than Microsoft was back in the day, mostly because, they were born and have been raised in the internet era. With Microsoft, they were just trying stuff out. We didn't have enough ingrained knowledge about the internet and the dangers at that time. But I could very easily see Chrome start going down this road, right? They basically write web standards today already. I could see them start pushing things that aren't great. They've already pushed, DRM into all browsers. They've already pushed, they're trying to push, a different ad blocking API that's not as effective at blocking ads as the stuff we have today. It can be dangerous to have a massive market leader in browser share, right? Like you get 60% market share and that's fine, but 90%, that's when it gets dangerous. We need an open, independent player.
Look, and if you're running Tor, if you're running any of the other stuff, guess what? It's all on Firefox and they're using the Firefox engine. They're not using Chromium yet, but that was the other open source alternative if you didn't want Chrome. But I think everyone's just sticking to Firefox, especially if you're running Linux.
Chromium isn't bad, but it's very much still in the hands of Google. It's very much got the Google mindset. It hooks to a lot of Google services. Chromium is the basically open source fork of Chrome, but you can't do things like watch Netflix with Chromium because Google and other players in the industry, not just Google, pushed a proprietary DRM bundle into basically all browsers. And that's the only way you can watch Netflix now.
So, well, yeah. Let's move on. So we talked about that. And then now I forgot the other thing that we were supposed to talk about. I
do want to say real quick, there are going to be a lot of people who are talking about, I'm just not even going to name specific ones to avoid driving traffic to them, but there are a lot of non-mainstream browsers that people will push. Some of them claim to be more private. Some of them claim to give back, cryptocurrency to creators automatically for you. People say, it's just like X, but we've taken these things and made it more private. There's a reason why you want to go with mainstream browsers, and that's because they will be the first to get advanced notice of security threats. They will be the first to patch. And if you decide to go with a weird third-party untested browser, you're basically exposed to all the nasty 0 days that the big guys are, but you're not patched as fast. I will wholly recommend that you stay far away from anything that's not one of the main browser vendors. If it's not Edge, Safari, Chrome, or Firefox, don't install it. Stay away from it.
I think we spoke about this a year or two ago. Some browsers said, "Oh, we're the most private browser with military grade encryption and all this other stuff." And what they were using was DuckDuckGo was default. Like it was Firefox. That's what it was. It was Firefox with the skin over it, but you couldn't verify the skin because obviously that's what you want to do. And it was using DuckDuckGo, which you can do anyway in Firefox. You can set all that up. And I didn't understand. Basically, it was Firefox in incognito mode, and they didn't sell it, but they did something with it, and you knew that it just felt a little slimy. Like who knows what they were doing? But again, they're just using some sort of fork of Firefox because it is open source, putting their stuff in and repackaging. So always be careful when you hear things like this. Tor uses Firefox. There should be your endorsement right there.
Yeah, so the only third-party browser, I should qualify this, the only third-party browser I could possibly recommend, and this is only if you want to use Tor services for web browsing, is the Tor browser bundle.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's our thing on Firefox, and we're not going to argue over whether you should have ad blockers or not. Do whatever you want to do. We're talking specifically about the blocking of malicious scripts and crypto miners and things that are not necessarily specifically ads. And yes, blocking ads hurts people, but also makes it load faster. So that argument you can have with yourself, but we're talking about the scripts behind it. So the next thing I put in, and Tom and I got into a little bit of an argument, were the Ring doorbells. Or how about this? The Wi-Fi enabled video doorbells.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Wi-Fi enabled video doorbells and how some of them can give video access to the police. So there have been a lot of stories about this, but let's be clear up front. For the big companies, if they have an option to share video with law enforcement, it's not automatic. You, as the user, as the owner of whatever doorbell camera you have to opt into the system. You have to say, yes, I would like to share this video feed with law enforcement. Now, law enforcement can come to you and request video, like recorded videos, but you have to say, yes, this video from this time to this time, I'm giving access to this person, to this law enforcement officer. It's almost exactly like if you had a completely offline webcam or offline security camera pointed somewhere and a cop knocked on your door and said, hey, could I have the tape from June 3rd? And you say, sure, policeman, here's the tape. It works in almost the exact same way. It's just digital with a little less friction.
I mean, my taking of the story was a little different. So yes, I agree with you. Law enforcement knocks on your door and says, "Hey, we noticed that there was some crime here. Can you help us out and see what you have on your doorbell, things like that?" But my take of it was the big companies are having their own type of social media with it, whether it's you're sharing your video clip on Facebook or Nextdoor or on Twitter. And what's going on is people are commenting on these and they're being really nasty. And it's getting to at least the one social network for the doorbell is getting really nasty of all these different things. And people are sharing things that are not necessarily crimes, but treating people as if they're doing crimes. Like the UPS guy placing your box not so gently on the ground, saying, how dare this person do it? And then all the racial and homophobic epithets come out in the comments, and you're like, whoa, I thought this is our neighbors here. Like, what's going on? Like who really cares? And it's not going to actually help deter crime. It's more of, look what I got. I got this animal like licking my doorbell or whatever else, and then people screaming at it. So I think that if, like you said, if the police want to come and ask, for me at least, I don't necessarily have a problem with saying, here you go, this is what I have, take it. It's facing outside. I don't think I'm doing crimes in front of my doorbell, but I'm hoping it's catching the person stealing my package.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the main use cases is catching package thieves. And I have to say I've seen several videos of people running up, grabbing a package off of somebody's doorstep, clearly stealing something that's not theirs, and slipping on wet grass and hurting themselves. And I have to say, there's a little piece of me, a little vindictive piece of me that just loves the karmic justice of somebody just falling on their butt after trying to steal something. It's just funny. Now, laughing at those people, I think is okay. Calling them racial or homophobic slurs, not okay. Never okay. No matter if they're an idiot package thief or not, it's never okay to do those things. It's okay to laugh at them, but keep it clean.
Well, that's the problem. So they're trying to. So the big company that you know about is doing all these case studies by, if you give 10% of your town these doorbells, these video doorbells, crime will go down significantly based on the data that we have. And I'll tell you that my issue is, what I really love about the doorbell is when I see the solicitor on my phone, I don't even answer. I just click off and just walk away. Because we have two types of solicitors. One that actually do the right thing and get a permit. Check your town ordinances. They may actually be required to have a permit. So if you have a video doorbell, you can say, please put your permit onto the camera before I even talk to you. And if not, you have a 2-inch thick front door. What are they going to do? They're not kicking it down before the police get there. Or you, if they don't have it, say you don't have a permit, goodbye. Or if you do have a permit, then you can, I guess, talk to them, because at least they follow the directions. That was my biggest thing, that they at least get a permit, because there are a whole bunch of scammers out there. Whether it's, did you get the college painting people? This is a new one to me.
I did not get the college painting people. I got a lot of people that were from the power company. I know we talked about this earlier.
So the power company one is really dastardly. So they come to you, they claim that they're from the company, and they mix up the name just a little bit. So I'm PSE&G, and they say, we're from PSG. And we notice, we know that there's an error. We can bring it up here. There's an error with your account, but we need your account number just to verify it. And you're like, well, I have it online. Don't worry, we'll wait. And you're like, huh? No, we'll wait for you. Why don't you go print it out, get us your account number? And they're using that account number as an affirmative correspondence to change you to their supplier. And they're mean about it. Like, hey, I'm eating dinner. No, this is really important. Like, you can lose your service. Like, just straight up lying to you. So we give a heads up, but I don't necessarily want to take the video and shame people. Like, they're doing their job. I guess they're doing their job. They're getting paid to scam people. I mean, people need jobs.
It's very common. It's very common. And unfortunately, people are desperate for work. I get it. I know. But I don't think that gives you a moral excuse to run around scamming people out of their money. Like, that's ridiculous. And honestly, they should feel bad. And I don't know if public shaming is the right way to go, but saying, hey, look, it's a scam. It's a scam. You're running around scamming people out of their money. Don't you feel bad? Like, ask the question.
And then we posted on Facebook, and the police chime in like, you should have called us or checked their permit number. So next time, always, if they're bothering you, ask for their permit and then call the police and say, no, thank you, call the police and move on. But again, I understand what these camera services are doing. Deep down, I think that it's a positive, but if it's going to be a cesspool of negativity, I'm going to see people stop doing it, and it's just going to go back to the way it used to be.
Yeah, and keep in mind that your utility companies probably aren't going to send a random person to your house if there's an issue with your bill. They might give you a call. What's more likely is they'll send you something in the mail. And even if you get a call from somebody claiming to be, a utility that you use, you can say, hold on, I'm going to Google your main office and give you a call back, and hang up and call the main number back. Whenever I get a call from somebody reporting to be from a bank or a credit card company that I'm affiliated with, I say, okay, I'll give you a call back. Now, the scammers will always yell at you. They will always say, no, you can't do that. You're not going to get me. You're going to get some random person who doesn't know your account. That's a lie. It's a sham. It's phony. just call, like, I have hung up on a real Chase representative, and I'm happy to call them out because they were very professional and courteous. I said, look, I don't recognize this number. I'm going to call the number on the back of my card. And the person on the other line said, yes, do that. That's far more secure than talking to me right now. Thank you for your time. And they hung up. I greatly appreciated it. It was wonderful. And when I got the random survey for the how did we do on your service call, I gave them 5 stars. They were great.
So again, we've talked about this before and everything else, but it's the scammers are out in full force. They're trying to make money. I'm all for, I think, like you said, public shaming, but I'm not out there to be malicious about it. And I hate when people do that and say this. Somebody steals your package, you post it. How about, who is this person? Not who is this, and throw a whole bunch of identifiable nonsense in there and call them all these mean names or whatever it is. I mean, I remember seeing one.
Calling a person a thief is plenty good enough.
Yeah. I saw somebody take a package and they did a follow-up, and it was a neighbor was awaiting a package, saw that the UPS guy went there. They went there, saw their package accidentally misdelivered, and took it. And that was posted on, and the person was called a thief and all these other things. And no one corrected the record until somebody called them out and say, hey, can you correct this record? I'm not really a thief. And go from there, because the person didn't know that they just saw the video and assumed that it was their package. So I don't know. But anyway, we're over time. We spent a lot of time on Firefox. That is an endorsement. We are endorsing Firefox.
We fully endorse Mozilla.org and Firefox.
I mean, we also endorse secure browsing, and if that's Chrome for you and you don't mind not having uBlock and other extensions, then more power to you. So anyway, with that, we're going to end, and we will see everyone next week.
See you, everyone.
Hey, bye.